Greetings, students, and welcome to week 14. This week, we're going to explore the future of search, what the experts and scholars and futurists think is coming down the road next. So I'd like you this time, again, to bring your own reading and defending your choice. We'll discuss the choices that you've made. At the end of the week, I'm hoping, I know you will submit assignment 2, as well as your reflection and your notes. We'll also talk a little bit about how you're going to be keeping up after this course is over, and I hope that at some point in the next week or so, you'll do the university's SIRS review on our course. So our essential questions for the week are, let's think about Markey's predictions. What's right? What's missing? What do the experts see as the future of search in a larger information landscape? Markey focuses largely on databases and library subscriptions. What's going on outside? What trends are most likely to impact you as an information professional? And again, how do you plan to keep up after this course? While the new edition doesn't focus a lot on these predictions or forecasts, among Markey's forecasts is that satisficing is likely to continue. In complete information tsunami, it may be the only viable option in view of the Herculean effort, she says, that would be needed to gather all pertinent information for an in-depth query and the time to fully assimilate it. So I suspect we will see satisficing, and she talks about the difference between the casual information need, younger people and their research, and scholars and their research. But it's something to keep an eye on, especially as we're working with users and students, and perhaps we're the folks who might make the Herculean task a little less painful in guiding the people we work with towards more than satisfactory and sufficing kinds of content. This one is almost a no-brainer, changes in database interfaces. I think I can remember so many times when I come in the morning ready to teach, opening an interface and having it look entirely different from the way it looked a couple of days ago. Things are going to shift, and as she says, just when you've mastered a search system, the vendor changes its interface or search functionality. So as an information professional, you should expect disruption, shift happens, and it's really incumbent on us to be agile and to keep up with the shifts. We're seeing this happen at a very rapid pace as AI integrations are being added to search engines as well as the databases that we're using with students academically. We're going to have continued issues, as Markey predicts, disambiguating legitimate results. It will be our job to caution users about filter bubbles, about deception, and the serious need for evaluation, especially on the free web. So all in all, being suspicious is a good thing. Being skeptical is important, especially for our users. And we may need to investigate standards in web-scale discovery systems to make sure there's no bias, as well as an open discovery in the Open Discovery Initiative. And we talked about privacy over several weeks, but we really need, especially on the free web, to understand that searching isn't free, that we are trading in exchange for the ability to search. We subsidize search engines and we gain personalization by trading our personal data. They know what we want and where we want to be and perhaps where we are. And they know about our buying habits, they know about our viewing habits. And so if you are concerned about these things, and these are personal choices, and choices that you will help your users, patrons, and students make, do you want to guide them to searching incognito or to using alternate search tools like DuckDuckGo? So these are things you need to think about as you work with people in a professional setting. Markey wonders if Boolean search systems will continue, whether we'll be the only ones to be using sophisticated Boolean and command line searching. I suspect command line searching, that's probably true. And will search systems continue to evolve to employ smarter searching to compensate for users who want to behave like end users and want search boxes to behave like Google? She asks, and I ask as well, can't we have both and let the user decide on how they want to search within the system? Markey wonders, will licensed databases continue? Will administrators advocate saving money by canceling subscriptions and relying on Google Scholar, Google itself? And libraries are not discount retailers, or the databases are not discount retailers, but the specialty shops that are needed for disciplinary research, providing users with advanced functionality, and that serious researchers would really suffer if these database licenses or subscriptions were discontinued. She wonders also, will discovery systems prevail for academic content? And I think we're seeing the need for them as a Google for academic content, because we have so many one search box fans with the prevalence of Google and Wikipedia. But while that will work for some, others might benefit from being guided back from the web scale discovery system to databases that make best sense for their subject specific or content specific needs. So once they go out of the facets of the general web discovery system, will they benefit from specific controlled vocabulary, thesauri, index browsing, and find-alike features that are resident and native in the individual databases and maybe not in the much, much larger discovery system? Of course, since 2016, pretty much everyone is concerned about the rise of fake news. We're seeing that traditional news outlets are still around, and social media is heavily used as a source of news, and the Pew studies bear that out. We are looking at how news rises as it's rated and shared with great speed in a 24/7 news cycle. We've been talking about the filter bubble and personalization, and the idea that we are not all seeing the same news appear in the same way. We're looking at algorithms that have bias, and we're looking at how commercial and commodity focus affects the way news is published. And we're seeing incredible division in our country about who watches which news. We are also seeing a wealth of new resources, which we looked at in part in evaluation module and also in our module on teaching about search. In addition, the rapid proliferation of AI tools and its expansion to pretty much every user creates new worries about biases, what is loaded into the system, and how it's used, the potential for the explosion of deep fakes. So the hope is that we're looking at approaches that come in a variety of different directions. One, from better educating our users, patrons, and community, and another in terms of most of our major social media outlets considering strategies for improving truth in terms of what they deliver. Markey and Knott also have predictions. In fact, they have 4 trends that they're watching, the first of which is the reign of recall. They talk about search systems becoming more and more like Google, retrieving more rather than fewer results. So the reign of recall is kind of the opposition to the reign of precision, I suppose. And users are pretty much on their own. They are expecting to search all search systems as if they were Google. And if the first results aren't useful, they play with other keywords and they have trouble imagining there are better ways to search. Among the reign of recall type systems are the library discovery systems that retrieve results from many non-obvious sources. This can be wonderful because they can retrieve results across disciplines. They can retrieve results across multiple journal types, multiple types of databases. But this, of course, as we discussed, may also obscure the very best databases in which they perhaps need to focus. They also have access to search systems which are designed to increase the number of results that are retrieved. The display of brief records or snippets of items that often appear on a search screen before the search is done. And there are a number of browser extensions that include open access versions of articles. So this reign of recall has both positive effects and some effects that may prevent the user from really discovering what they need and maybe preventing them from reaching out to a knowledgeable information professional. Markey and Knott note the importance or the growing importance of open access results. They suggest that we help users by making it as easy as Google Scholar to find open access results. And as you know, in Google Scholar, PDFs, when they're available, often appear in the right frame or the column. They suggest that we point to preprints and other forms of open access materials like institutional and disciplinary repositories, that we install open access browser extensions on our library computers, and I suspect they would also say that we encourage users to install them on their own home or laptop computers, and that we understand that as the availability of open access research publications and open data continue to expand, that we will need to stay apprised of changes in researchers' sharing practices and the impact this may have on database selection and more broadly on organizing, indexing, and distributing scholarly knowledge. I think if open access materials become more available, it is our responsibility to ensure that our users can access them. Markey and Knott talk about information disorder in kind of an updated way from the Markey older version did, making the onus of remedying this disorder on us as professionals. They suggest that we cultivate an awareness of local, regional, national, and international current events, and perhaps we might do that by curating LibGuides or websites that really display a variety of sources, that our sources are not only local but potentially international, not only print but potentially broadcast and other media. That we encourage our users to listen to and watch and read accurate news, perhaps staying away from some of the social media news that we know is a little bit less accurate. That we encourage our users to be willing to question received information and know what types of questions to ask. That they maintain a curious and open mind. That they understand that needed information likely exists, but it might take effort beyond satisfying to find it. And the effort might include contacting someone knowledgeable for help. And they note that the information seekers who are satisficing or who don't have the time or attention span or dedication or knowledge to craft smart search statements, evaluate results, and revise searches for better results can easily be influenced by misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation. Markey and Knott also suggests that because the information seekers have so much variability in what they know, because the much about information resources is also incredibly variable, and because the information industry itself is constantly shifting, that we become students, and I think that we urge our users to become students of search, and the way they might do that is to read trade publications, and at least we should do this. Information Today and Online Searcher are among them. Attend conferences specific to online searching. Visit database vendor information booths at annual meetings of organizations like ALA, SLA, the Medical Libraries Association. This can be so important, and you can also get some freebies. Participate in information discovery discussion groups on listservs or social media platforms or various different groups, and you know where to find them. In addition, I would suggest that you become part of advisory boards of the various databases that you are most interested in, and perhaps some of the search tools, and take advantage of free training offered by publishers and vendors, including live and recorded sessions. And you can learn a lot from the database publishers and the vendors' media sites and social media sites, and the webinars that they regularly make available. In addition to those 4 trends, the original Markey book had a functionality wish list. Markey had hoped that in the future we would see automatic facet detection in extended Boolean, helping users improve their relevance in synonym detection and clustering and weighing for greater synonym matching. She had hoped that we'd see improved control vocabulary tools, that we'd have improved database selection tools. Think about the database hubs that you've seen and how we might make the things that our users need for a particular topic or question pop. Automatic source evaluators, intelligent stemming in Doodle, ditching truncation in Boolean, intelligent stemming in Boolean, ditching truncation, automatic technical readers, somewhere between abstract and full text to access relevance. And we're seeing some of this in the ability AI presents to evaluate, analyze, summarize, translate PDFs. And online help, contextual, everywhere, usable, and with the ability to search and browse. So what else is on the horizon? We're thinking about questions like how will digital personal assistants evolve? How will voice search or visual search or the ability to use optical character recognition help us with search, especially when we're traveling, perhaps? How is search becoming more predictive? How will location awareness help or get in our way? How is deep linking going to become more available, going past the homepage to more specific content within sites? How will we develop more contextual understanding of our search queries and our syntax, and perhaps that is happening a bit with AI? Will we be seeing more relating to wearable search, the Internet of Things? Will we be using drones in search? AI, of course, and machine learning, we're already seeing its impact. How is the importance of users being able to search on their mobile devices affecting search? How does open books, open educational resources, open data, as we mentioned before, and open source journals impacting search? How will we deal with the continued impact of fake news and algorithms with bias and personalization? Dan Russell, when I spoke to him when his new book came out, he mentioned in the book he had his own predictions. Among his deep truths are there's more stuff online than you can imagine or know about, and it's not all uniformly accessible. He said there's more different kinds of stuff than you may know about, that it's also easy to find fake, spurious, and incorrect information, that nothing lasts forever, even online resources, and we should be cautious about checklists. He also said that online search will continue to look more spoken, more AI-based. There'll be more question answering services. It'll be more social. We'll have more assistance, and content will continue to grow in content and kind. A combination of interventions. I hope that librarians are going to intervene in making the user a little bit more aware of their search options, both in terms of places to search that are splintering, as we've noticed in Markey and also in Russell, but also strategies for using search and refining search that may be a little bit hidden for them. We'll see more connections. So when somebody starts outside of the paywall, outside of the library subscription databases, Gale is now using a tool called CASA, which is Campus Activated Subscription Access. So if somebody is searching for something that appears in JSTOR or something, or EBSCO or Gale, it's not just Gale, of course, it's the other databases, they'll be led back to their campus resource where they'll get the full text. And also we're going to see that they will authenticate outside of their campus subscription. And I'm hoping that we'll see this automatic authentication by more and more of the services, recognizing it in terms of just this person is a real user and this person is in this browser, which means if they are an authenticated, or if they're a user who is okay to use the system, they'll get automatically led to the resources within the paywall that they have rights to. We'll also see metadata being leveraged in more powerful ways for discovering research connections in terms of mapping articles that are similar. We saw that in the JSTOR text analyzer on a very basic level, but we're seeing this across the scientific literature community, and these are just a few of the new tools that can lead you from one article to another much more easily and actually create visual maps of the connections among articles. We're also seeing far more tricks for getting into open access content and for getting versions across the silos where things live. And we're getting pushback on the notion of whether or not we should use preprints in a time when it's really important to get scientific information quickly. We also need to make sure that information has been vetted, but how do we weigh the value of the preprint, and how do we find our way across repositories? And some of these tools allow us to make those decisions by pushing the stuff out in front of us. And so I see the two issues that we're approaching in two different buckets. It's the discovery issues. How might we unify siloed content and allow users to dig into their great depths without losing the integrity and the lovely proliferation of interfaces, data, and formats along the lines of our conversations about the beauty of discovery in terms of being able to find things and recognize cross-disciplinarity, but also, how do we not lose the finding tools across all the platforms represented in this little visual of silos? So discovery issues is one, and access issues, which we've alluded to, is another. How do we get people to the content that they need without crazy levels of authentication? And we're seeing movements to single sign-ons and federated authentication solutions. So keep an eye on those to help your patrons. And finally, in terms of wish lists, here's my wish list. And I've mentioned some of these before, but here it is in the form of a list. So I'd like to see searches that go across these silos, that allow for multimodal search so that you can discover spoken word records about something that you may not even know that was even a search genre that existed. I worry that mobile-first and consumer-oriented approaches may be very different from the types of approaches researchers need, and I don't want to see all of those beautiful tools disappearing. I'd like to see more ADA compliance and supports for language and readers with different needs. For instance, immersive reader, which you're probably noticing in Canvas. I'd love to see that across our databases. I'd love to see algorithms understand that diversity is an issue, and we need to have the people who manage these algorithms, who build these codes, to really consider their not bringing their own biases into this. And I also want to see my data protected at a basic level, or at a level that really respects my privacy, that librarians can live with, and according to our own principles. And my wish list part two has to do with discovery. Like Marky and like Russell, I'd like to see more predictive search, a proactive search that understands, let's say search as a shopping experience, understands who I am without disregarding my privacy. To have a conversation that is multi-level. We're seeing this happen with our digital assistants. Can it recognize the type of research I'm doing without losing my privacy, understanding the iterative nature of the research process? Can we see more? And we're seeing the beginning of database and journal and resource recommender systems. Can facets, as Marky suggests, be automatically detective? Can we have, at like the children's databases, more clear and also attractive identifiers of the types of containers and the types of articles we're looking at? As we saw before with some of those new tools for a scholarship, can we see within the tools we're already using connections, who's citing whom, so that we can see the conversation that the scholarship we're looking at really engages in? I'd love for abstracts to be more clear. They're often written by the article authors and not necessarily as friendly as they might be. I'd love to see, this is a dream, but I'd love to see them sketch noted or diagrammed in some way. Can AI do better bentos, bucketing my results and my browsing options? And I'd love to see, like we see in regular Google, I'd love to see a knowledge graph created for my scholar searches that is not just based on answers, but also talks about that scholarship conversation that we're talking about. And I'd love to see more, like we see in Gale and some of the search engines, graphs that visualize my research query in tiles and wheels and the like. So this week, I want you to engage in your own forecasting. What do you think should be included on a Search Futures playlist? We're going to have you investigate the literature and what folks are predicting. You'll be adding those articles and your own thoughts on how viable the predictions are and what you think is important to another crowdsourced playlist that we'll be sharing in Canvas. And most importantly, I'm going to be asking you, how are you going to keep up? The learning that we had this semester should not end when the course ends. You will be responsible for leading in whatever environment you land in if you're an information professional, and that is across the board. What articles will you read? Which bloggers will you follow? Which journals will you subscribe to? What social media feeds will inspire you? What conferences will you attend? The learning continues, and you're going to be the one responsible for sharing it with your community. So I am looking forward to the final week, week 15, where you will sum everything up in a meme or using some kind of creative image. So see you in Canvas for week 14, and I want you to start thinking about your meme to wrap up our semester. And what is, of course, what should be included in your own search futures playlist. So you're going to be sharing that in the forum this week. What most excites you about the future of search? And then most importantly, I want to know, what is your plan for keeping up? This semester, we've looked at current awareness, we've looked at weekly search news, you've been keeping an eye on databases, we've been looking at what's happening in the world of search thematically. I want to know what your strategies are, because if you're going to be an information professional, you have to be more kept up than the rest of the folks out there. So we'll be talking about your plan as well. So to sum up, this week we're talking about our forecast for subscription databases and their users. We'll be looking at my playlist, and you will be creating your own playlist and thinking about your strategies for keeping up. Next time, it's our last week together, and we'll be having a wrap-up. You're going to evaluate each other's or offer feedback on assignment 2. And for your reflection, this time you're going to be drawing or creating some kind of image, a metaphor for what does a search landscape look like. I invite you to also consider doing it as a me.